Hey everyone, I'm Katrina, and here I have with me the talented Danny Limelight. We're going to be talking about, his wrestling career, what's happening, what's going on, what's new. Thank you so much, Danny, for joining me. It's like super early in the morning over there, so
Hey Katrina, how are you? Thank you for having me.
thank you so much for doing this. So, for those who don't know who you are, if you're new to somebody, what would you describe your wrestling persona as, like your wrestling gimmick?
Well, Danny Limelight is me. There really isn't much difference between him and myself. I'm a Puerto Rican from New York, Brooklyn, New York,
Oh,
um, and I represent yeah, and I represent that in the ring. Um, I'm confident. Sometimes I could be cocky and arrogant. Um, I'm a striker. I'm a high flyer. I'm very technical in the ring, and I'm very, very unpredictable and very innovative. So Danny Limelight is just like very versatile. And there's nothing that he believes he can't do. He has radioactive genes, and he's just a fun person to watch.
yeah, I got to see some of your matches that I was actually very entertained. I like your you did cage fighting at any point, like MMA style type
Never.
wrestling? Because of like some of the stances you had when you were like starting to
Hmm.
wrestle somebody kind of gave me that vibe, like if you was
Yeah,
in a like octagon or something, and I was
nah,
like, oh, okay, that's pretty dope.
it's just years of street fighting.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I definitely was like, oh snap, he got the stance. I was like into that automatically because I do like MMA and stuff. So,
Yeah.
what got you into wanting to wrestle? Like, was that like your original career choice, or is it something else that sparked that for you?
Um, when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a wrestler and an actor. Like those were like my two dream jobs: was to
Yeah,
be in Hollywood making films and or wrestling. Um, Only thing was growing up, I only knew WWF and WCW. Like I didn't know what independent wrestling was.
yeah,
Um, I was a troublemaker growing up, so like after high school, I didn't have no plans, and I joined the Marine Corps. So I did 10 years in the Marine Corps. That was like my first career, and at the time, wrestling in Hollywood didn't seem like a realistic dream or career to pursue. And it wasn't until the Marine Corps put me in California where I found independent wrestling on accident. Um, And so the quick story of it is, I bought The Rock's DVD from like his top 10 greatest matches because
yeah.
my daughter had knocked down a bunch of Blu-rays in Target. And one of the Blu-rays she knocked down was his. So I was putting them all back because I didn't want to just leave them there. And I seen The Rock's like Blu-ray. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, he was my favorite growing up. So I bought it. I went home. I sat her down in her boppy. She was like 4 months, 5 months old or something like that. And I just turned it on the TV. I was feeding her a bottle, and we were just watching it. And then I was like, my daughter's mom at the time we were together, she came into the living room and she was like, I never seen wrestling really. And so I looked online to see when WWE was going to be in town because I thought it would be like a cool date night just to go watch wrestling,
Yeah.
something we've never done before. It turns out they were coming to town the next week. So I was like, oh, this is like perfect timing. So I bought the tickets. We went. And when we got to the arena, it was at the Valley View Casino in San Diego. I ran into somebody that I knew and they didn't know that I was a wrestling fan. They're like, I didn't know you was a wrestling fan. What's Danny like? Blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, I wouldn't really say I'm a fan anymore. Like I haven't watched it in years.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I'm training to be a wrestler. His name was Joe Phillips is his real name. But he wrestles his wrestling name was Joe Gamble, and he's in San like NorCal area now wrestling sometimes. He didn't wrestle for that long. But he was telling me he was training to be a wrestler, and I didn't believe him. It sounded like silly.
Yeah.
And then he was like, just come to this address, blah 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 blah. So I went home. I talked to my daughter's mom about it at the time, and she was like, "Go ahead, here. I'll give you the money if you want to go pay for the school." Because at the time we were both in the military,
Yeah.
and so like I paid most of the bills as far as like rent and all that other stuff, and then she held down like the fun activity kind of funds, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So she gave me the money to go start training. I went, and like the promoter was a complete dickhead. He was like, I don't know if you can do this, da 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 da. And I was like, you gonna take my money or not? It was basically the kind of conversation we had.
Yeah.
And then I started training, and then 3 months later, I made my debut, and you know, I got kicked out of that school like 7 months in, and he was I would never ever mention the school because they don't deserve any promotion from me because they're just horrible. He's a horrible person, and I just after I got kicked out of school, I was like, well, I guess that's the end of my wrestling career.
Yeah.
But it turned out that it was like the best thing that ever happened to me because I started getting bookings like all over the place. And I was able to, instead of just training in one school, I was able to go train at different locations with different people. You know, some of the people that trained me, you know, I got to train at Santino's Bros with Los Luchas for lucha training. I got to train with Lil Cholo, Mariachi Loco. I got to train with John Morrison, Damian Sandow, or Aaron now. I got to work with Jake Atlas a lot, Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus. Like these are the guys I train with on the regular. So it was very, very fortunate for me that I was able to work with these guys and just be able to pick their brain and learn from them as much as possible. And it's been going on, you know, August would be 6 years. I had to take a 1.5 year break in between because of the Marine Corps. And but yeah, other than that, I've been just going strong.
That's pretty dope. I mean, it sucks with your experience with the school. I've been seeing that a lot in the last 2 weeks. So people were saying certain things about how some of the people at the schools are, or some of them are very, I want to say, right word is rude or just dismissive when people are trying to do wrestling. So I'm actually very glad that you were one of the people who was able to just like that particular experience made it where you can just like open doors for other places for you, because I've heard like some stories people just completely gave up because of that situation, something like that, or just like they, you know, took some time off. So it's fortunate that she was able to just move a lot away from that and just get more opportunities to train and learn without the guy being a douche. Like,
yeah,
you know,
well, that's like that's the thing. Like I've been seeing all the like the posts online and stuff like that. I just want to take a second to tell the females that are speaking out, like keep speaking out. Like these people out there that are like doing shit like that to you, and those are the type of people that we don't want in wrestling. You know, those are the type of people that shouldn't be in this industry, in this business. But for me personally, like I've always been the type of person that is able to adapt. So like the military taught me that. You know, the streets of Brooklyn taught me that. You know, being able to adapt and overcome. And to me, it doesn't matter if somebody tells me I can't do something, or somebody tries to hold me back or keep me down. Like regardless of the fact, I'm gonna go find a solution. I that's who I am. Like if I see a problem, I try to find a solution. I don't just sit around and wait for something to come to me.
Definitely New York, New York, Tennessee. I'm a New Yorker, so I definitely get it. Like that's definitely like you just got to do what you got to do. Got to grind, got to hustle.
Yeah.
So who are like, you mentioned The Rock. I'm not sure if you see him as like an idol or anything, but who would you consider like wrestling idols for you? Like people you kind of like appreciate in some way, or people you just was like, oh, I respect you. You kind of done this, and I can see that in wrestling. Who's somebody you consider like an idol?
Oh yes, The Rock for sure, 100%. It's The Rock. But if I have to think of like somebody else other than The Rock, like maybe somebody that's been wrestling for like the last 15 years consistently. I've always been a huge Randy Orton fan. So everything he does in the ring. I actually was able to like sit down and talk with Randy Orton for about 7 to 10 minutes at a WWE event that I had went to go work for WWE as extra.
Yeah.
And I got to sit there and talk to Randy. Super, super humble dude. I mean, great conversation, which was like cool because it's somebody that I respected and admired in the ring. So I really appreciate Randy's work. Obviously, Rey Mysterio. That's another great guy I got to work with and be in the same locker room with him plenty of times in San Diego and Mexico. Who else do I like to watch? I like to watch, you know, when I came back into wrestling in 2014, or when I debuted in wrestling in 2014, I kind of started watching it again, and like it was right when Seth Rollins had turned on the Shield. So I was like a huge fan of watching his work and stuff like that. I thought he was great. Yeah, those are like the 3 people I would say off the top of my head.
That's cool. I mean, for Randy, for me, I hated him as a kid. Probably because I didn't really like heels growing up. Like as a kid, I was like, no, don't do bad things. As an adult, I appreciate him so much more because I'm like, you're like one of the best heels ever in wrestling. For me, Randy's definitely one of the best. Like he just does things that I'm like, it irks you so much, but it works so well. I don't know as an adult, I appreciate him more because as a kid, oh, I hated him.
Yeah, I don't know if it was because I was a piece of shit growing up, but like I was just a huge fan of the Legend Killer. Like just the disrespect, like just because it was something that had never been done on TV. Like just some young kid destroying the careers of these older guys, and I thought it was brilliant. And he did so. Like I knew when he was with Evolution. Like I said, this guy is gonna be 10-time plus world champion. He's gonna be one of the faces of the company. Like, and it was obvious, and he did that. Like, he's amazing. And even when he works as a baby, he's pretty fun to watch. You know, like just the reactions he gets out of some of the things that he does. But I definitely prefer him as a heel.
Yeah, I agree. I did like him as face, which kind of what got won me back over. But I was like, no, as a heel standpoint, like just watching it more, objectively than as a kid, you're just like, oh, my favorite. It's like,
Yeah.
no, he's definitely like one of the best heels, like the way he does things and the whole RKO out of nowhere, which I love. I love that so much. So who's your like favorite like match of all time? Like a match both that you've watched as a fan, but a match you also worked like when you're in the ring.
Okay. Fuck. Well, my favorite match of all time is gonna be The Rock and Hogan, just because the electricity in that match, phenomenal. It was the icon of my generation versus the icon of my dad's generation, so it was kind of cool to watch that with my dad and just be electrified, you know. More recently, a match that I really enjoyed was the Rollins versus AJ Styles match from last year. I think it was Money in the Bank or something like that.
That was a great match.
It was an amazing match. Rollins versus Orton at WrestleMania when Orton hit him with the RKO off the curb stomp. Like one of my favorite matches to watch. And even the Adam Cole and Gargano match from one of the takeovers.
Oh yeah. Their matches are usually really, really good.
Fire. Yeah, I love it.
Really
For me, my favorite match, I had a pretty solid banger at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood not too long ago, like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, with Ice Williams, who's out of Vegas, young cat, super, super charismatic, very, very promising future. We had a pretty fire match. I had a fire match with Chris Bay in Rhode Island at XWA. That was back in November. That was a really, really fun match. I've wrestled Chris Bay 3 times, and all 3 times has been fire. Who else? I had a match in Florida for ACW, WWN, with like the people that run Evolve.
Yeah.
I had wrestled Troy Hollywood, and it was my debut over there in Florida, and that's like another great match, and that's on YouTube too. Like I really, really enjoyed that match with Troy Hollywood. It was a lot of different things that I did in that match that I had never done before, but that I had been working on, and it came off so clean and so much storytelling and so much back and forth in that match. I enjoyed it. And then even recently at my New Japan debut, the person that I wrestled was one of the best in the world, and the match that we had was really fun. I can't tell you. I can't say who it is because it hasn't came on TV yet. Like, it hasn't aired, so I don't want to like drop the spoiler.
Cool. No worries. That means everybody just have to make sure they watch it when it
drops. Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's gonna be on the week 2 episode of the Collision, Young Lions Collision break.
Yeah, that was pretty dope. I actually a really big fan of New Japan. I'm a recent fan. I found out about New Japan last year at the G1 show in Madison Square Garden. Never heard of it before. There was like really just thrown in there. And I was so entertained that I was like the whole time I was just like, oh my God, like this is amazing. How did I not know about this before?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel about like you're making your New Japan debut? How do you feel about that? Like I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing, like automatically, because I love New Japan. I just think they're so many tiers above, and this is nothing against WWE or AEW. It's just they have something that's a little different, and I appreciate it. And they do it without having everything over the top. It's just like it's there. So how did that feel for you? Like,
have you like seen me wrestle before anywhere?
I did watch some of your matches. I did check your YouTube channel out, so there was a couple of matches I did see.
Okay, so how did you find me on Twitter?
One of my friends retweeted something, and usually she has like a whole bunch of wrestling friends. I'm just like, oh, this is cool, and I'll just like watch. So that's how I saw you originally.
Okay, so like for people that don't follow me, like I never knew what New Japan was either until I started wrestling in the independents. Like I said in the beginning, all I knew was WWF and WCW, and so I didn't know there was Ring of Honor, New Japan. You know, then TNA came out, and I knew about TNA because Kurt Angle had went over there. But I didn't know about New Japan. I didn't know how big wrestling actually was. And then, you know, obviously when I started wrestling, my goal was always WWE. Like, that's where I want to go. That's in my head, I believe, to be the major leagues, you know?
Yeah.
because that's what I watched growing up. And then I started seeing learning about other wrestling companies and seeing things that shows, you know, different kind of wrestlers that do different kind of styles, and people fit in certain places better than other places.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what, I could see myself wrestling for Impact. You know, they have a Fire X division. That would be cool, you know.
Yeah.
And then obviously when AEW came out, a lot of my friends, a lot of people that I've wrestled with and trained with are signed to AEW, you know. And I was like, well, I definitely could see myself there. We all have similar styles, you know. But I never thought about New Japan until the opportunity came across my desk. But really, I don't have a desk, you know. But
Yeah.
like until like you know, I went to the Rocky Romero. Shout out to Rocky Romero. He invited me out to the New Japan tryout. I did my thing, and he enjoyed it and said that he wanted to bring me back for a future opportunity. And just being able to have this opportunity this last month, where you know, and to make my debut for such a prestigious company that is humongous in Japan, it's humongous around the world. It's a different kind of wrestling. Like I think you hit the nail on the coffin when you said it has its own versatile. It has versatility. It's its own thing, and I think that my style kind of fits in very well there. You know, a lot of people have been like hitting me up like, "Oh, you remind me of Osprey, or you remind me of Ricochet," and those are like awesome compliments to receive. And I don't think I'm at that level yet, but I do feel like I fit in there. Like I can see myself wrestling for New Japan and having a good run. You know, it was just an awesome, exciting feeling, you know, and it feels like all the hard work that you've been putting in paying off. You know, when I got the call, I got the goosebumps come up, and when I was there, you know, I got brand new gear made by Samantha Packer. Shout out to Samantha Packer. She makes all my gear. I could hit this woman up on a Tuesday and have my gear in my mail on Thursday. Like that's how awesome she is. And so I had the Big Max white set, and you know, and it's like, all right, here I go, it's my chance. And then I found out who I was wrestling, and I'm like, oh shit, like this is the real deal. Like I really need to be able to come out and perform, you know, and put on the show and entertain and work my ass off, and it felt great.
That's dope. Yeah, I was actually like really excited reading that because I was just like, oh my god, like New Japan. And then I do like your style of wrestling. It's entertaining. I tell people all the time, like for me as a wrestling fan, if I'm watching, I want to like, what can the wrestler give me that's like, okay, I want to watch this next person, this match, the next match, or the next time down the show, I want to see this person. And it's like sometimes it's hard for me to be like, oh, okay, by watching something, like for me to be involved too much. I'm like, okay, I gotta watch all of their stuff.
Right.
But for you, I was like, okay, very impressed. I was just like, okay, you're really entertaining to watch. And that's always a good thing. And it's not just like people who do spots and stuff, just like generally, like what part of your gimmick is for me that I'm like, yeah, now I gotta watch this person's match. I have to see what they're doing next. I have to like be like immersed in what they're doing because of what you do. So that's really cool because I love New Japan and I love your wrestling style. So that's
Thank you. Yeah, I you know, the wrestling style for me, like it's taken a lot of like changes and upgrades over the course of the few years, and I feel like we should always be evolving, obviously. But one thing that I have prided myself on is like me as a character in the ring. You know, like the first thing that I made sure was in my opinion great about me was the ability to cut a promo, like being able to talk on the mic, being able to like sell a fight, you know, or make it feel like that big match and be able to talk my shit, whether I'm as a heel, as a face, you know, and then being in the ring and making people believe what I'm doing in there, not making it seem unrealistic. Okay, like you were saying, it's the way I stand. Oh, it gave you the MMA octagon feel, and it's really not. It's just how I used to fight when I was growing up. You know, like hands up, body moving, loose. You know, like, and that's that. I feel like all that's important aside from just being able to wrestle. You know, like having a good look, being in shape, being fit, having gear that looks good and matches the character, and then believing in what you're doing and making the fans believe. So yeah, I'm glad you appreciate it, and I'm grateful for that.
Also, I know you said WWE is the goal. So now that you know about all these other promotions, what do you see like for your career in like 5 years? Like what's like the major thing you want to do in like 5 years from now?
5 years ago, I was pretty much starting out. And I had just made my debut for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, which is the first TV company I wrestled for. And then now, fast forward 5 years here wrestling for New Japan. If I think another 5 years forward, I'd be 33 years old. Man, I want to be signed to one of the major companies. Obviously, you know, winning championships, traveling around the world. You know, being a household name, putting putting on for my daughter, putting on for Puerto Rico, putting on for my city of New York. Like,
Yeah.
it's always bigger than me. And in the 5 years, I can definitely see myself doing that. I believe I have the athleticism. I believe I have the charisma. I believe I have the talent, and I just need to keep working on my craft, obviously. And I feel like I can be someone that people are talking about in 5 years.
Yeah, that's dope. I actually respect that. I always tell people like New Yorkers, we have this whole like vibe, like New York. No matter where we're at afterwards, it's always like, you know, but it's New York all day type of thing. So, who's a wrestler that if you ever had a chance to work with that you haven't worked with yet, you would like to share a ring with, even if it's just like either a promo or if it's like a match of any type.
And I can't say The Rock.
I mean, I assume now that you said that, like you're a big Rock fan, I'm taking him out of this. So if it's not The Rock,
okay,
who else would like to share a ring with?
I'll pick one from each company.
Okay.
Okay. If I'm at WWE right now with the roster they have, I want to wrestle Randy Orton. 100%. If I'm at AEW, AEW, I want to wrestle Kenny Omega.
Nice. Okay.
If I'm at New Japan, I want to wrestle Will Ospreay or Kota Ibushi.
I love Kota. He's one of my faves.
And if I'm at Impact, I want to wrestle my boy Chris Bay again. Nice. But for the X Division Championship.
Nice. See, I think you do well though. You know, get that championship.
You got to get signed first.
So, what do you like the most about being on the road? I hear stories all the time about like, you know, there's good and bad. So, what's your good and bad for you as a wrestler being on the road?
I hate being on the road. I'm just kidding. I hate flying first and foremost. Like, I do not like flying. I feel like it's my daughter's giving me the mean look because I'm being too loud. I'm sorry, baby. I don't change your face. She's an actress. I hate flying. I think that sucks. Being away from my daughter sucks. Hold on, baby. I'll watch you after I've done my interview. Okay. Being on the road sucks when I'm like away from my daughter or on a long flight. I hate those. You know, in like a Spirit airplane that no leg room, no nothing. That's the worst feeling. But the fun things about it is just like traveling, you know, seeing new places, meeting new people, new fans, being able to perform at places for the first time, the electricity, creating memories with people that never seen me before, and then having them want to follow me and see other things that I'm doing. It's fun when you get to meet new people. Always a good time.
Nice. Like that sounds like, I think a few people do say like they don't like the traveling part, but they don't like necessarily traveling, but they do like traveling because you get to see different things, which I always think is pretty like, you know, dope if you can do that. So how has the wrestling world been for you since, like, you know, 2020 has been a very strange year. Then the whole COVID thing happened and it got even stranger. So how has wrestling been for you with COVID and like things being on pause?
It's been good to have a break. I don't know if you can see it here, because right here, I separated my shoulder in December in a match, and I was supposed to be out for like 6 months, something like that. And I came back in a month and wrestled in a month. And so then I went hard from January through March. I was wrestling nonstop, you know, traveling for wrestling. And it was just one of those things where when COVID happened, I was disappointed because I was like, damn, if I knew this was going to happen, then I would have got surgery, obviously.
Yeah.
And now I can't because it's already set. So I would have to like separate it again to go through surgery. So hopefully that doesn't happen, you know. But I think that it's been a good opportunity for me to rest my body, work out at home, do certain kinds of workouts, and and just rest because I know when once things get back to normal, the bookings are going to pick back up a lot more than I already had. And things are going to be very, very intense and demanding on my body. So it's just been cool to rest. And then obviously I wrestled for New Japan this month. I just passed, and it's going to be airing next month, and just getting back in the ring for that. It was a little shock on my body, but it felt good. I stood in shape. I wasn't one of those guys that was just being lazy at home. I was
Yeah.
definitely working out harder, with the core workouts and the aesthetics and the calisthenics and stuff like that. Just training wise. So I've been resting, but I've also been working hard too. So
Yeah, rest is always important. I mean, I personally been about this because it's like I get it, but it's also weird when you're always doing stuff and it's like now you have to rest because there's no choice. You have no choice, in the matter. So are you like what are your thoughts about gimmick matches? Because I've heard some very interesting things over the years with people and gimmick matches. So what are your thoughts on like gimmick matches? Are those matches you're okay doing?
Gimmick matches like what?
Like when they have like ladder matches,
Oh
or
yeah, I
they
love them.
have like
Ladder matches,
the
cage
hardcore match.
matches. Yeah, I do them. I do them. I do them as long as it makes sense to the story, as long as it makes sense on the card, as long as we've been building up for it. I'm all about it.
We took a photo picture, and my dad had a pink shirt, and I had a pink wamper, and my dad had a black wamper, and I had a black shirt.
Nice. Is pink your favorite color?
Is pink your favorite color?
No.
No.
Okay. Oh, that's my favorite. Black. I love black clothes, so I feel you.
But yesterday, her favorite color was green and yellow. So she changes it every day.
No. I like pink and yellow. I like pink and black.
Okay, Leesi, I'm in the middle of an interview, baby. Go sit down. She's crazy, but in a good way.
I know how it goes. So what's if you're giving advice to somebody who's just starting out, they have no idea what to do, where to go, what would you tell somebody just starting out?
Get a credible wrestling school. Obviously get the right training, which is something that I wasn't able to do because of situations, but get a good school that's reputable, have good trainers, and just work your ass off. It's going to be hard before it gets easier. You're going to be traveling and getting paid almost nothing for a show where you put your body on the line because you want to build a buzz or your name or whatever, or your brand. But just keep working. I promise you that if you put the work in and you grind it out and you're working hard and you're being, an eternal student and constantly learning and wanting to better yourself, the right people are going to notice it and see it, and you'll get opportunities because you've earned it. And that's another thing. Like, nobody owes you anything in wrestling. No company owes you anything. But just grind, and eventually you'll be where you want to be, and then you'll get bigger goals and bigger ambitions, and you'll never be satisfied, but you want to keep working, and it'll pay off. And just enjoy it. Trust the process, what everybody says, but really just enjoy it. Have fun with it, because you'll be looking back and be like, damn, like, I'm here now, and there's a time I never thought I would be here. So it's like, it's just fun. It's a fun experience. And even if you never get signed, you never make it to where you want to make it, at least you could say you did it and you tried. And this is something that a lot of people in the world can't do. So it's fun. Great memories.
Cool. So make sure I'm looking at this question right. I really personally, I don't like comparing people. I feel like every wrestler should be, in general, should be their own person. But if you could compare yourself to somebody, who would you compare yourself to?
When I first started wrestling, I wanted to be like a mix between Floyd Mayweather and The Miz. I know, but that didn't last very long. Then I started, like I said, I was watching a lot of Seth Rollins, and I kind of had like his kind of a style. Now, I watch a lot of like Adam Cole matches. I watch a lot of AJ Styles matches. I watch a lot of Ospreay stuff. So like just a mix of all those guys I try to be like, but very, very significant in myself. Very significant difference, because I am more like me. My swag, the way I talk, the way I do things is very much me, and not so much trying to copy or mimic them.
Yeah.
Just taking things that I've seen and then trying to innovate it and make it mine,
Yeah. Okay, so again, I don't want to keep you too long. So my last question for you is, what do you have coming up that you're excited about outside of New Japan? Because I know we talked about that, but is there anything you have coming up, or anything you see like in a year from now that you're doing that's, you want to tell everybody about?
Yeah, so for other people that know me, that I'm also a filmmaker. I'm an actor and a stuntman and a writer and a producer. And so I have a lot of films that I'm working on and I'm writing, and we're shooting a movie this weekend called 207, which is the brevity code for, kidnapping and human trafficking. So the film is about human trafficking and stuff like that. So we're trying to spread awareness to that. And then there's like 3 other films that I already written out that we're going to be shooting over the next 2 months. So it's just nonstop grind. I'm just excited to keep expanding my brand, and Limelight Productions came into play this month, and I'm just happy for that accomplishment, be able to make my own production company and just continue to work with amazing people that want it as bad as I do, and just grind. So, if you go on my YouTube or my Instagram, you'll see a lot of the stuff that I'm working on, and I'm not hard to get in contact with. I'm really approachable and easy to talk to. So if you want to know something, just hit me up. And I'm sure that this, for everybody that's listening, you might want to know what I'm doing. So, my Instagram is it's at Danny Limelight, and my Twitter is at Danny Limelight. And even if you want to come look at my TikTok videos, it's at Danny Limelight, So I'm not hard to find. My Pro Wrestling Tees store is prowrestlingtees.com/Danny Limelight.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Like I said, I'm a fan, and I'm very excited to see what you do with New Japan, because that's my favorite and everything. And everybody else, I will have all the links in the description when the video is posted. I will have the link so you can follow him and see what he is doing. Keep up with it. That's really cool about the videos. So I would probably be following about that, because I like the host. I'm a writer as well, so I understand the whole process that is. Not a screenwriter, I write fiction, but it's a process, and I get that you're able to film and stuff. So that's pretty cool and pretty dope.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Katrina.
And I hope you and your daughter have a fabulous rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you. You too. Bye.